Aircraft have long been considered one of the safest and fastest means of transportation. But there have been many painful and catastrophic cases in history when hundreds of people have died. In many cases it happened either because of the pilot or the plane itself. And to inform you about all this, today I will present 7 incredible cases when the plane landed in a state of malfunction. And you, dear viewer, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. So I wish you all a pleasant viewing. Flight over the Atlantic. On August 24, 2001, an Airbus A300 flew from Toronto to Lisbon. The petrol tank was very well filled before the flight, and the staff gave the pilot even more petrol for emergencies. 5 hours later, during flight, both engines of the plane suddenly switched off. The cause of gasoline exchange malfunctions. Gasoline ran out very quickly and they could not even add. The pilots immediately made an emergency landing, but the next landing point was 217 kilometers away. The 2 engines were already running out of gas and completely shut down, leaving the island 120 kilometers away. The plane was starting to lose altitude. Everyone panicked and lost hope of making a fuss, but the pilot knew the plane very well, thanks to which he was able to lift it with great difficulty, and for some time made a successful landing without any damage. Everyone was very surprised. The pilot did a really good job. Pilot Mozilla. On August 22, 1968, the Douglas DC-67 was route from Tokyo to San Francisco. Several problems had already been noticed before the flight. The altimeter showed different numbers for each one, but the mechanics quickly repaired it, and the plane made the flight. Everything was going very well, but after a while it was reported that San Francisco was covered with very thick fog, so they had to land with the help of pointers, and the 1968 planes were not provided with accurate pointers. They decided to land and noticed that the height indicator was starting to show wrong numbers. It turns out that the mechanics did not repair anything. It was too late to do anything, and their only way out was to land. They did not even know where they were landing, and it was one of the seas of San Francisco. The pilots unknowingly lowered the plane into the water. Fortunately, the plane did not sink completely, and all the people were evacuated within a few hours. The pilots were rushing to the event. December 31, 1988, the Tu-134 was in a hurry and was heading to the airport at high speed. They were already very close to the mainland. The plane was traveling so fast that the emergency lights came on, and the pilots did not pay attention to it. They wanted to land at a speed of 460 kilometers per hour. Attention, at a speed of 460 kilometers. How they could have made such a mistake is simply amazing. Their next mistake was to open the wheels at that high speed. According to the rules of 1988, landing above 320 kilometers per hour is not allowed. The plane hit the ground at a speed of 465 kilometers, and the wheels broke in a second. Everyone panicked, many fainted, and the pilots tried to stop the plane. The good news is that everything went very well, and no casualties were reported after that. Landing in the Pacific Ocean. On October 16, 1956, a Boeing 377 was en route from Kanaloa to San Francisco. When the plane took off, they had to slow down, but one of the engines started to spin at the highest speed instead of slowing down. This was very wrong, and the pilots started to accelerate the front engine to ensure balance. All this became so difficult that the 2 engines stopped, but the plane began to move faster due to the wind. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Everyone was in a panic. The pilots realized that they had to land on the water, and it would be a peaceful ocean. Let me remind you that the incident took place in 1956, when the pilots could not land on the water. The situation was really terrible. Everyone was advised to take off their shoes, because that way it would be easier to swim in the water. After a while, it was time to touch the water. At first everything was normal. The plane touched the water, but seconds later one of the engines spilled water, which caused the plane to split in 2. There were 3 ships nearby, which rushed to the scene and rescued everyone. Plane Gimli. On July 23, 1983, the plane flew out of Montreal Airport with a full tank of gasoline, of course. Already during the flight, the plane began to warn that the right engine was running out of gas. In the left engine, and then the two together. If all the electricity on a more specific plane was off, the plane could not get to the next airport. There were some happy facts in all this. Both pilots were very well trained. One of them was well acquainted with the terrain, and the other was able to lower the plane with the engine off. They could have just landed. They were already approaching the land. Everyone was waiting in horror for what would happen. But with great joy the plane landed very successfully. There was a car race in that old base, and it was a few meters before they were touched. The incident had a really surprising and happy ending. Pilot Kamikaze. This pilot was very scared of losing his favorite job, and had increased his work experience in his CV. He knew all this would be revealed, and he would be fired. He had a very scary plan. He decided to harm all the passengers during his next flight. He was going to do it with an ordinary hammer, and after landing he stated that he had made an emergency landing and saved all the people. In the USA, in case of rescuing passengers in case of an emergency landing, they paid $2,500,000, which was his goal. Luckily, he was not appointed a pilot that day, and he left as a passenger. Already on the flight, he picked up the two hammers and went to the pilots. He hit them in such a way that they lost control of the plane. One of the pilots, at an altitude of 11,000, turned the plane several times, causing him to fall back, and the security guards to immobilize him. The plane landed with great joy, and the man was arrested. The photo model and her cat. On August 25, 2015, a photo model was flying. He kept his cat in his bag, which was not in the cage, by the way. The plane made a very successful flight, after which security officers noticed a woman without a cage cat. They had to decide something in a hurry, because the higher the plane went, the more the cat started to panic. The security guards decided to leave the cat in the warehouse. After all this, the model started shouting at everyone, demanding the cat. He even threatened to destroy the plane, claiming that he had close ties to the mafia. For safety, two fighters were getting wet next to the plane. Eventually, after landing, the woman was arrested and interrogated. It turned out that he had nothing to do with the mafia. From all this it became clear that all the panic was meaningless. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video.